How would your life be better if you stopped following the crowd? How much freedom would you feel if you didn't care about running in a pack? And what would your life look like if you weren't afraid to take a path that nobody else was traveling? In a world that constantly encourages conformity, reclaiming your individuality is an act of courage. It isn't about being different just for the sake of it. It's about making decisions that align with your values and your goals, not the expectations of anyone else. So if you're anything like me, and you're interested in taking bold steps towards living in an authentic way, then I'm sure that we'll discuss one or two applicable takeaways for doing just that. If you don't know, my name is Chad Joshua, and I'm working my way towards writing a 100-song catalog. I write songs about populism and freedom and liberty, and this is my artist channel, which I use to promote those songs. In my free time, I like to have these discussions to consider the things that we can apply to be tools and strategies that will lend to us making the best effort towards the things that we're trying to accomplish. Whenever you have a passion for doing anything, you're already going to be standing out from the pack in some way, shape, or form, just in the nature of having a pursuit that you want to follow. And with so many people these days that have given up on being exceptional or striving towards anything, for whatever reason, it makes someone like you who's trying to do something stand out like a sore thumb. But what is it that you could accomplish if you did make decisions that were based on your own values and you didn't care about the pack? You didn't care about the herd. There's a lot of reasons why that's difficult for us to do. And there's a lot of reasons why we should make a practice of it. For the most part, people don't really want to stand out that much. The attention can be something of a discomfort. And beyond that is the hyenas are just waiting to see if you fail, and you are probably aware that that is exactly what they might be rooting for. Hopefully not, but nonetheless, I don't think anybody really wants to fail in front of a group of people, especially. We certainly don't want to be judged, though sometimes we avoid doing anything because it just saves us that kind of attention. In addition to that, there's a comfort of being inside of a group. There's a safety in numbers. You know, we do have an animal instinct that we have to overcome in order to do something outside of the group. We're hardwired to survive, and surviving is a job that's oftentimes better done in a group. So we are predisposed to want in, but sometimes that's at the peril of our capacity. Then there's just the hardship and the challenge of dealing with the uncertainty of all of the choices that are laid in front of your feet, which all seem to be extracurricular than what come to those who opt in for living just an ordinary status quo type of a life. So who do you look to for advice with those types of deliberations? On the other hand, the problem that comes from acquiescing to belonging to the group is that it stifles individuality and creativity. It leads to decisions that feel unfulfilling, misaligned, and it does an absolute number on our self-confidence and self-trust. The herd offers a temporary comfort, or maybe it's a foundational comfort, but it keeps you from discovering your unique aptitudes, and it certainly hinders you from exploring them. It's like trying to put your feet into somebody else's shoes. They may keep your feet dry, but they don't feel particularly comfortable at all. For myself, I am racing right towards one of these kinds of crossroads where I will have to make my own decision in this very regard. I am a late adopter of anything to do with social media. I always looked at YouTube, but I was never on it. I was never on Facebook. I was never on anything. And I sort of looked down on the whole thing. I just saw the whole thing as being a destructive force in terms of it just bringing everything to a lowest common denominator. But the facts are, I'm trying to write music, and I need to find a way to connect with the people that the music that I'm making would resonate with. So here I am on YouTube creating an artist channel in order to do that. The only thing that I want to do is just document the process of what I'm doing with the sort of behind the scenes content, sort of follow along vlog over a long period of time, throwing the marker out in the future that I intend to create 100 songs. And then what happens? What's the story that unfolds in taking on the challenge and moving towards it? I've spent this entire year dabbling with topic content, some kind of a misaligned effort to cash in or tap into the search engine results when it doesn't have anything to do with exactly what I'm trying to do. I thought I could square all that for myself by doing these daily chats wherein I could provide some encouragement and refine my own clarity towards my goals. In fact, I'm doing that right now. I'm becoming ever more clear. And while I do hope that I'm able to convey something in this that is of encouragement or of any use at all. In terms of my time, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I've hired some excellent help to help me navigate building my reach, building my numbers, but it seems that the current trend is, at least in terms of advice, has just been to lean into these topics, dial out the individuality in order to provide value to people who may not be my audience at all. And as I mentioned before, I hope that there is some value that you've taken away from any of these videos that you've watched. And I do imagine that I'll continue to make them while scaling it back and focusing it more as a progress report with some small touch of topic woven into it. I do see that I've been given over to the herd mentality just because I haven't wanted to rock the boat, because I'm paying for somebody who's telling me that if I don't do what they say, it's probably not going to work out. On the other hand, I look at countless other artists who just focus on creating music, putting that up, and then creating shorts or reels or whatever we call the TikToks in order to promote the music. Maybe I'm not exactly breaking from the herd so much as I am just wanting to realign with maybe something that feels better in terms of how I'm using my time. So what about you? I'm sure you have a story for the comments below that you can share about something that you're doing where you were following the pack and either you diverted from that or you stayed with the pack, whatever it was. Let me know. Because breaking free to reclaim your individuality is a lot like avoiding the escalator and taking the stairs. It's harder, but you're free to move at your own pace and in your own direction. And what could you accomplish if you made your decisions based on what it is you want to do? You have to let yourself ask the hard questions. Why is this a norm? And does it align with my values? Does it align with what I want to do? Who benefits from the expectation and who benefits from the standard? And if there were no supposed expectations, rules, or guidelines, what would you choose? Questioning things and going against the grain, it isn't a rebellion, it's an act of clarity. Question everything, test everything. You have limited, finite time, and you owe it to yourself to move toward what you're trying to move towards in a way that you want to. If you don't question things, it's like driving with a foggy windshield. You can't see out of it. You need to clearly be able to see what's going on in front of you, because you don't want to end up looking back and thinking, what's one thing that I should have done and I didn't do because I acquiesced to friends, to family, so-called experts, to anyone. Because you got your own life to live and you got your own death to die. And you haven't any time to waste, and neither do I. And just because you go off by yourself and run it in your own terms doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. You're going to be in it like a dogfight, but it is developing the resolve to make a self-determination like that I find as a success, because we are just absolutely inundated with this conformity, with an ever-increasing list of societal standards, which, just in case you haven't been paying attention, are completely nonsense. And we're all but ushered into a social credit system wherein we won't be able to do anything unless it aligns with the dictates of external others. So if you haven't any interest in forging out on your own, firstly, I haven't any idea why you're this far into the video. But that said, you just do what you are doing, because that's fine. But if you're the other kind of people and there is something that you are compelled to see through, then you dig in and you make your decision. Because I'm going to dig in and make mine. Keep your head up. I'm going to keep mine up. And if you haven't had a chance to hear my new song, you can listen to it here. And we'll talk again soon.